cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
Do you ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mother, for replacing the baby aspirin with LSD.
All right, welcome into Week 6, View from C-Deck, our college football betting predictions. And here with the Direwolf and the Haas, a menage a trois this week for a lot of Haas handies, some Direwolf delights, and some Just Matt's junk. We're here batting over 600 on the year as a whole. I'm at 64%, 17-8, 4-1 last week, and Georgia almost made me go 5-0. They almost came back and pulled off the miracle. But as always, this week we'll start with the Buckeyes, since this is a Buckeye-centric podcast. Laying 20.5 at home with an over-under 44.5. And we all picked this in our podcast previously. But, Direwolf, you're the only one that has it as one of your picks this week, so I'll let you start.
Yep, I just have always picked our game one way or another in these, so keeping that going. I don't think they're going to score many points on us, even though they can run the ball. I'm hedging that Tyleek comes back, and that makes a huge difference. But, if they only scored 10, I think we're going to score in the 30s, I think. If we don't score in the 30s, I'll be a little bit worried for the rest of the year, to be honest, when we face a legit defense. So I don't see them scoring more than 10, and if that's true, I think we cover.
Yeah, I think 27-10, so I don't think we cover. I don't think it hits the over. I think it's going to be a little bit of sloppy first half, field goal kind of battle, and then second half maybe we kind of make some adjustments like we've done. So that's my thing.
Yeah, I'll take Iowa with the points just because of the game coming up after it. I don't know. I just think their offense is good enough, and they'll keep it slow. So I said like 35-17, but I got the over just because the trend's moving that way, and their offense is actually decent this year. And their defense probably isn't as good as it has been in the past. All right, some Friday night action there. The Haas picked right away. Oregon hosting the team we just played, Michigan State. And we also have UNLV and Syracuse. I think these are both Haas handies, right?
Yes. Tough to play Ohio State and then go on the road across the country to Oregon. I'm seeing a big letdown there, and Oregon's probably trying to tune up for us. So I think they're going to kind of try to get their wheels greased. So I think Oregon kind of covers the spread there. And then jump into that UNLV, right? Fresno, is that the other game?
UNLV versus Syracuse.
Syracuse, sorry. They played Fresno, yeah. Big cross-country trip from Syracuse there. A little bit to play there because it's their first road game. They had 4 straight home games. And UNLV's backup took over for the guy. Big conundrum there. He actually looked really good. I had like 120 yards rushing, was like 13 for 16, a couple touchdowns. He looked pretty good. So I'm not liking Syracuse's odds to be able to stop them, and only 4 points, I think it was, when I got it. I like UNLV there. I think they're going to keep the momentum rolling, and they see that playoff there.
Yeah, you just convinced me about Oregon. I didn't think about it being like a short week too, because I like the way that Michigan State looks, and I don't like the way that Oregon looks, and 24 is kind of a lot for the way they've played. But you're right. They're going to want to tune it up for the Ohio State game. They get an extra day off. The extra day, the one less day for Michigan State after that physical game. Yeah, I'll take 24, lay the 24, and I like UNLV. I like UNLV too. I think that their quarterback deciding to leave. We have to do a podcast about this NIL crap too. That may have brought them together there, like you said.
I think you did convince me about Oregon as well. That's it's a good point. Typically, teams after we beat them fall on their ass, piss me off, make us not look as good. And as you touched on in the last one, like Michigan State was probably playing about as well as they could in that first half and just kept making mistakes. So that probably isn't going to keep up. Oregon could just absolutely throttle them. I'm not sure about the Syracuse game. I'll go with McCord.
Man, I may throw a C note down on that Oregon game because you both are bringing up the Ohio State hangover and the cross country trip. Yeah, it's all pointing to Oregon just beating the crap out of them. All right, Saturday though, the only ranked game of the day, the only one this late in the season, Missouri going to Texas A&M, Kyle Field. They coming off a bye though. A&M was in a very close physical game with Arkansas last week. A&M laying 1.5, over under 49.5. I picked this as one of my picks. I picked the under for this. right now at Kyle Field at home games, they're averaging under 49.5, and these are two pretty decent defenses and two decent offenses. So I don't think there's like fireworks. So like something like a 24-21 game sounds right. I'll take Missouri because they're coming off the bye to like eke it out, but I'll say it's just the under's what I like better.
I have no idea on this one. This is a typical SEC teams get ranked, and then they play other SEC ranked teams, and one of them wins. It's a good win, but it's not a bad loss. All that bull crap, just in a circle. So Missouri, I think probably I'd go with them. Who's favored?
A&M.
A&M by 1.5.
I think I'd go with Missouri. Just out of a gut reaction. I honestly don't know a whole lot about either team.
I spent the week when I was in Cincinnati. I was staying in a house with a couple Missouri fans from St. Louis. They haven't been big on Cook. He's been kind of having a down year, and so he hasn't gotten Luther Burden. We remember him from the bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't gotten him involved in the offense very much, and we watched that Vanderbilt game, and they straight up said after that game, and they snuck it out. They said, A&M, we're looking at that game. They think they're going to lose. So I'm going to kind of trust the fans there, and they're not pretty high on their team right now. So I think A&M gets the win there, and they cover, obviously.
All right. No, moving up to 3:30. There's a ton. We picked 14 different games this week out of the 15 possible. So Casey, I believe you have Georgia coming off that heartbreaking loss there in Tuscaloosa, coming all the way back just to blow the lead in one play. Hosting Auburn, who's been trash this year, laying 23.5 at home between the hedges. You like Georgia in this spot?
I do, and it's basically both reasons that you mentioned. Auburn is not good. Kirby Smart was so pissed off at that long play by Ryan Williams. You could see him so fired up. He's going to have those guys pissed off. Their schedule is brutal. So this is one that they just need to blow their doors off and get past it. Because if they lose this one, they might not make the playoff. So I see them firing on all cylinders and just absolutely destroying them.
Yeah, is that Georgia? Yeah, that's tough. Auburn's no. Yeah, give me Georgia.
Yeah, Auburn's offense. And I'm going to complain a little bit. I was watching the end of the Auburn game and the Auburn, Oklahoma, and the announcer was going absolutely ape shit. I mean, he's like trying to pull a Gus Johnson, and it's like a redneck Gus Johnson the whole game. And he's screaming about how awesome Jackson Arnold was to go into Auburn and win this road game. And I was like, well, they took the lead on a pick six that he had nothing to do with. They didn't score very much in general. And Auburn stinks. This is not like some like coming out party. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
Speaking of ranked teams, though, Indiana is back in the ranked category, and they've been my squad this year, but I didn't pick them this week, Direwolf. You did, laying 13.5 at Northwestern. Before I let you get to your pick, I'm going to say I didn't pick this one because Northwestern's defense isn't bad. They played Washington reasonably close for how bad their offense is. And I don't think Indiana's defense is actually that good. So, we're at Kyle. It's Indiana also, when they finally get ranked, a lot of times they fall on their face. It kind of scared me off a little bit. I think I'd still take Indiana, but it's not my pick.
Yeah, I went with them. The spread, it's not that many points. I think Northwestern's terrible. Their strength is their defense, though. But Indiana, they're tied with us for third in the country in points per game. So they're going to put up some numbers no matter what. And their schedule's the opposite of Georgia. They beat all these chumps. I looked at the FPI, which means absolutely nothing, but they're favored to win every game on their schedule except us. They're favored, according to FPI, against scum, at scum.
We'll see that later.
Yeah, Indiana, that offense, Northwestern stinks.
All right. The 3:30 game. Ole Miss coming off a brutal upset at home against Kentucky that we were just talking about how they may be a lock for at least 10-2. I don't know about that anymore. Going to South Carolina, who had a bye week and has been playing pretty well and actually blew the doors off that same Kentucky team earlier this year. South Carolina getting 9.5 at home. It's kind of in ballsy pick territory because I feel like that should be worse for Ole Miss. It should be 6.5. But I'll take South Carolina to cover that. I think they're better than we think. Ole Miss may not have been as good as we think. And Lane Kiffin, that was a typical Lane Kiffin team game, just have a letdown against Kentucky, and I think it could just compound a little bit. So I'll take South Carolina just to cover. I don't know if they win.
I'm with you. I'll go with South Carolina. They're gonna Ole Miss is they're gonna try to hang on to their season, and I don't know. I think it's gonna be a very tight win, very close, 3 points.
I don't see Lane Kiffin like a Kirby Smart to fire his team up and get back on the rails. I see them losing this game. I think going on after losing that heartbreaker, then going all the way to South Carolina. Yeah, I think they lose.
Yeah. Okay, the only game we did have two people pick, both me and the Direwolf. Rutgers at Nebraska. Almost was a ranked matchup if Nebraska could have pulled it off against Illinois, but not quite. And Rutgers still not ranked because the pollsters hate them, I guess. And they were dominated though. So, but still won against Washington last week. Direwolf got another win under his belt with Rutgers. But I'll take Nebraska. It was 6.5 when we picked it. It's 7 now, but I'll give you the 7, Direwolf. So I'll get the 6.5. But I like Nebraska at home. Rutgers got outgained by 200 yards, gave up over 300 passing and 200 rushing against Washington. Washington missed 3 field goals though and failed to convert on a 4th and goal from the 2. They only lost by 3. At Rutgers at night, I don't think this game is going to travel. I don't think Rutgers is quite good enough. So I'll say they lose by 10, like 28-18.
6 field goals?
Yes.
I just have to go with my trend. Like last year, Iowa under Rutgers covering has been hot for me. They could lose this game and still hit it. I think it's going to be a nail biter. Nebraska has a way of blowing games, though. Scott Frost is gone, but they still did it in their one loss this year. So I don't know. I think it's going to be real close. It's going to come down to turnovers probably. Whoever wins that battle is going to win the game.
Give me Nebraska.
All right. One I kind of snuck in here. Alabama going to Vanderbilt, number 1 team in the country. Laying 24, which seems too low. Vanderbilt, not that bad this year. They beat Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech in overtime. They took Missouri to overtime too, or is down to the wire. They only lost by 3. They're not that bad. Alabama coming off the big high, maybe feeling themselves too much, and it's always a sleepy atmosphere at Vandy. Getting 24, I'll take the 24. I think they only win by 21, and it's like closer than we think. It's like halftime. It's going to be like a 3-point game or something stupid. So I'll take, and they've had a game like that already this year. Although they ended up winning that game by more than 24 against South Florida. I'm going to take Vanderbilt to cover just off a feeling right here.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's got a special place in my heart. I like picking them.
Yes, you do.
I like picking them here too. They have the belief now that they can test these teams after testing Missouri. I think they test Alabama.
I learned my lesson. I'm never betting against Alabama again.
Saban's not there anymore. Batman can't hurt you anymore.
He was there. Miss Terry was there too. They were there.
Okay, 7 o'clock. The biggest flops in the country. Florida State hosting Clemson, getting 14 at home in a primetime game. Dude, Florida State stinks. Got beat 42-16 by SMU last week. The only game they won, they got outgained by 130 yards. Clemson just beats them down again. I'll take the Tigers.
Was this one of mine?
No, this is one of mine.
Okay, I thought about making this one of mine. I'm with you. I think they smoke them. I could see it, the blue blood coming in, like it's kind of a rivalry, but they're just terrible. And Clemson, I think, is legit. Their only bad game was to Georgia, who's now not, their defense isn't looking that great, so maybe Clemson's offense really isn't that good. But it's hard to say, but I think Florida State just stinks.
ACC just stinks, but give me Clemson.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 7:30 games now. Let's get through this marathon. Tennessee, a team I've been making some money on this year. Going to Arkansas, not one of my picks, though. It's the Haas. Haas, what do you think about the Vols?
Vols are nasty. They're nasty. I really like that offense and their defense being stingy and stuff up front, seeing what they did at Oklahoma. So I think it travels real well. I think their style travels to be able to cover that.
Yeah, I like Tennessee. I thought about that one, but the number scares me a little bit. But but they're hot. They're going to put up some points. And their defense, I think us and them are the only teams to be ranked top 5 in scoring offense, yards offense, scoring defense, yards defense.
Yeah, Arkansas is not that bad, but they just lost a tough game at Kyle Field. But Tennessee's been road warriors. They covered again at Oklahoma and at NC State. They played two relatively tough places, and the lines have been kind of off for them all year. So doesn't scare me because they were not like high enough favorites in any other games pretty much. So I'll take them to go ahead and cover that, even though they're coming off a bye. It could work against them here, but yeah, I'll take them to cover the 14. Now time for some ballsy pick territory. Number 10 Michigan underdogs on the road at Washington, who just lost at Rutgers. And if you've been going against Michigan at these all year, you're making some money. So I think the Direwolf picked this one.
Absolutely. I was kicking myself to not go with Minnesota in the podcast last week because that was ballsy pick written all over it. I actually bet on it though, so that was nice. So I'm going right with it. Like you look at that number, are they 10th, 11th?
10th.
And they're underdogs against freaking Washington, who just lost to Rutgers. Like what the hell? Give me Washington. The common bettor is going to be all over Michigan on this one.
Mm-hmm.
He talked me out of it, and after watching Orgy, he ain't it. It's fun to see him not be very good. Yeah, I'll take Washington.
Yeah, I'll take Washington too, although that was a ballsy pick written all over it. Haas and I both had Baylor ballsy pick written all over it. I mean, I didn't pick it as one of my picks, but they did almost come back though. They came really close. So yeah. Another 7:30 classic Big Ten rivalry. USC travels to Minnesota. Man, you couldn't have two more closely related teams in terms of culture and community playing one another in beautiful Minnesota. Golden Gophers getting 8.5 at home. It was 9.5 when you picked it, but I'll give you the 8.5, Jason, for USC to cover.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fucking easy. Minnesota is no, I think they're going to be a pushover after losing that game to Michigan.
Man, that was close. I didn't even look at that one, but I don't think USC's all they're cracked up to be. Minnesota could have easily beaten Scum. They got hosed on that freaking offsides penalty, but Scum's not good either, so that's a tough one. I think I'd go with Minnesota.
I think I'll take Minnesota too with 9.5. Maybe not the 8.5, but the 9.5. I mean, they kept it close with Scum. Like basically them and they had the exact same score, I think, as USC did against Scum. And it's at home. And USC was awful in the first half against Wisconsin. They were trailing and then outscored them 28-0 in the second half. So I'll take Minnesota to cover that, but I don't think they win. Last game, finally. The U traveling to a classic ACC rivalry as the Atlantic Coast Conference California Golden Bears host Miami, and what has to be one of the longest trips of the year, right? From freaking Miami to Berkeley, like Northern California.
Stanford's got to go to Syracuse, or they already did. So that's got to be that's the longest trip.
That's the longest trip. God Almighty! I think USC goes to Rutgers too at some point.
Next year, Stanford sets the record for air miles traveled with their trips next year.
They go into Dublin too.
This is a sidebar, and we should have a separate podcast about this. About these conferences will change in the future because it's not going to work with other sports, let alone like this travel with football.
No,
it's going to be a nightmare. That's why I'm taking Miami. No,
they're traveling.
I know they're traveling. That's why I'm taking them because they're going to be so good. They're going to be so happy to go all the way to California from Miami to get out of that hurricane swamp. So yeah, they're gonna go into Cal and breeze through, and Berkeley's gonna get all hyped up for finally having game day, and they're gonna fall on their face and get blown up by like 30.
I'm gonna go against Miami. They looked like trash in that last game. That last play was absolutely ridiculous. I thought there's no chance in hell that guy caught that touchdown pass, but then they called it a touchdown on the field, and there was no way in hell they could overturn that from that replay, and then they overturned it. It was like, what is going on here? But I lost some respect for them. I thought they were a lot of people were saying they're a legit contender to win the Natty before last week, and I think that's no longer the case.
Yeah, I don't think they're legit to win the Natty, but I still think they're going to win the ACC. Clemson will give them a game, but Cam Ward is legit. He is a legit Heisman contender, and he's a beast. I think he'll throw him on his back, and I think they cover this, but I don't love it. But Cal did lose to Florida State, so
Yes,
so I can't be going with them. So I'll take Miami, but yeah, I was warning everybody against that line. I tried to warn you. I tried to talk you out of it, Casey, last week. I picked Virginia Tech because I did not. I just thought Miami played too many good games in a row. That will come up. They'll be fine, and they'll cover this. All right. After picking 14 games there, this has been the View from CDEC. We're going to skip our college football playoff talk because this was just too damn long, and we got a lot more to talk about that later on. But for the Direwolf and the Haas, like I said, we've been hitting around 60% as a group. I'm at 64, so follow me the most. But like, subscribe, comment, tell us your picks for the week. Put together a nice parlay. Actually, put that in the comments so I can follow it. But we will see you guys next time.
Roll Tide.
Hey guys! Whoa, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.